was also very transparent as well. I knew what he made. I knew what his investments were. I knew what his net worth was. Like, I knew all of that. And again, that's why I'm so transparent. I don't feel like there's a need to be quiet about these kinds of things. I think they're really important to share with your family and your children. And also, even if you're not sharing or teaching, they're learning anyway. So they're learning by osmosis, either the positive or negative traits around money. Everybody has a money story or unconscious money mind of like how you react to things. If somebody's coming to you and they're literally laying their cards on the table and showing you everything, I could not feel comfortable to turn around and not show mine. And also they need to know they're working with somebody who's made it, who's already a success, who can retire anytime she wants. So the first thing I do is show them my portfolio. This is what I have. This is what I make. And guess what? I make more money from my portfolio than I do from my day job. And guess what? When that happens, you made it. You are beyond a success. And obviously that's not everybody's life goal, but that is certainly an incredible goal to have. If you're making more money from your passive job than you do from your active job, right? And so I show them my portfolio. I compared asset classes to shoes, and I went through every single asset class and compared it to a pair of shoes in your closet and why you would wear it and why you would take it out and why you would need it. And I got so many women reaching out to me, even strangers, that said, I never understood this before. Why didn't anybody ever explain it to me this way? And I said, it's just a different analogy. Our industry is very male, so it's a lot of sports analogies, a lot of beating the S&P 500, which really does not resonate with women. In my entire career, I have never had a woman ask me, can we beat the S&P 500? Like, it never happens.
Welcome to Catching Up to FI, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to FI together.
Hello and welcome back to Catching Up to FI. I'm Bill Yount with Jackie Cummins-Koski. And today we're talking again about women's empowerment and financial on the services side and on the client side. We have a fantastic guest who was introduced to us by Shauna Game of the Everyone's Talking Money podcast. Jackie, are you going to introduce our guest for us today?
I sure am, and I am thrilled to have her today. So our guest today is Cary Carbonaro, and she is an award-winning certified financial planner with over 25 years of experience. She's one of the few women that's been around that long, but her passion is empowering women to discover their unique path to financial freedom, something we talk about on the show all the time. So Cary is the managing wealth advisor and women and wealth ambassador at Ashton Thomas, where she leads a multi-million-dollar financial planning practice focused on empowering women. One thing I love the most about Cary is how transparent she is with her clients. So she shares her tax return, her investment portfolio, and other financial information with them. And it's like, wow, I have never found another CFP or financial planner that is willing to do this. So we're going to get into that a little bit, but she has just blown me away after hearing that. But as a respected industry voice, she's been named Investopedia's top 100 financial advisors 6 times, not 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, but 6 times. And she is the first female member of the 2024 NASDAQ Advisor Council. Cary is the best-selling author of The Money Queen's Guide and just released her newest book, Women and Wealth, which we will definitely get into. So Cary not only empowers adult women, but she also shares her knowledge with young girls like she did at a recent Girl Scout conference to make sure they become smart cookies with their finances. Cary, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Well, it's awesome because 75% of our audience, and men may feel a little dissed here, but 75% of our audience are women. And they're women starting over who've succumbed to medical catastrophe, financial catastrophe, divorce, and they're starting over. They're late starters and they want to be empowered. And here we have a voice that has grown up in the financial services industry in Cary, and she has seen what the evolution of the system as well as the evolution of the client, and the woman is becoming a primary client of the financial services industry, and we're finally now speaking to them. Cary, take us back a little bit for a moment here to your origins. How did you become such a whiz with money?
So I love telling this story. I am the oldest of my siblings, and I bonded over money with my dad. He worked for JP Morgan Chase. He was a senior vice president at JP Morgan Chase. And I grew up learning financial literacy like kids go to sports games. And we did all these amazing things around money. I thought it was something that everybody learned growing up. I did not know that it was not something that people learned or didn't learn. And I remember even with my dad in the 70s, when I was very little, he would take me to work before there was a take your daughter to work day. So I would go to the bank with him. I remember even when I was 5 years old, I won a contest for JP Morgan Chase. It was a picture of what my father does at work. And I had a picture of him being a bank teller. He wasn't a bank teller, but that's my picture. And it was up in the corporate headquarters for like a year. And I won like a savings bond and the whole bit. But anyway, so I just knew that I just liked working. I liked that aspect. I liked the money part of things. And I saw my dad and my mom, and I saw the dynamic, and I said, I'd rather be like my dad. I want to be the one that makes the money, because I noticed even from a young age, the money has power and has more choices. And my dad could do whatever he wanted to do because he made the money. And so I was like, I want to do that. We did like really fun things together. We went to foreclosure auctions together. When I was a teenager, we bought a house at auction, and then I helped him manage it together, our first rental property. And then we used to go to Straight Talk with the Dolans. I don't know if you remember them, again, back in the 80s. So we're going way back. They were a couple that talked about financial literacy and like toured around the country. And we did that together. So I just was so fortunate to learn at a young age about money. I even had the first electronic banking system created by Chemical Bank, and it was called Pronto Banking. And it almost looked like a Pong game, and you put it on your TV. And again, we're going way back to the 80s, and I had it on my TV in the 80s. And I was like, oh, can I do the banking? Can I reconcile the bank account? So anyway, I just feel like I literally grew up with it in my blood. And then when I was in college, my dad said to me, well, if you go to a state school, I'll pay for it 100%. If you go to a private school, you have to take on debt. And I was like, debt? Oh my God, why would anybody want to take on debt? Like, I couldn't even believe that it was even a choice. I'm like, no, I'll go to a state school. And so I got out of school with no debt. And while I was in school, I used to do budgets for my friends and say, oh, I can find money in your budget for you. Just give it to me. And I would just do all these types of financial planning things. I didn't even know it was a profession back then. I was just good at it and I loved it. And so I just did it all the time.
Well, that's fantastic because your dad sounds like the great dad of daughters. He's the dad all our daughters want when we want them to become financially literate. How do we recreate or clone him?
Oh, I know. He was the most incredible man ever. And unfortunately, he passed very early. So I lost him when I was in my early 30s, and he was in his 50s. So it's super sad to me to know that he didn't get to see my career flourish. And I just know that he's living through me, or I'm living through him. With everything he taught me, I'm passing along to the next generation. So I believe that my books and my writing and my teachings all come through my father. So my dad is here with us through me.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I think one of the main things I got from that story is that it was a man, your father, that was the biggest influence on you. So for everything that you're going to be talking about today and that we're going to be discussing, it's not just for women to listen to. even if you're a man, you've got a mother, you've got a grandmother, you've got a daughter, you've got a sister perhaps that you could influence or that you care about their financial well-being. So it could be valuable for anyone to listen to this discussion. So I love your dad. My dad was big in my life as well. So thank you for honoring him and sharing that story with us, because the origin stories are so important. And I just love stories.
Thank you. Me too.
It's great because this is how we learn. It's the mentoring. I didn't have this mentoring, and your dad made it a game. It was play. You said you had a lot of fun going to foreclosures. You didn't go to the baseball games with dad. That was fun for him, and he made it fun for you. And you were like, I don't know any different. And why don't we incorporate our kids into our financial lives and take them to the table? I mean, it's not that finances don't happen at the kitchen table, and everybody should be at the table so that they can learn from your mistakes and the things that you're trying to do with your own financial life. Your dad did all of that way ahead of his time. So kudos to him.
Thank you. And he was also very transparent as well. I knew what he made. I knew what his investments were. I knew what his net worth was. Like, I knew all of that. And again, that's why I'm so transparent. I don't feel like there's a need to be quiet about these kinds of things. I think they're really important to share with your family and your children. And also, even if you're not sharing or teaching, they're learning anyway. So they're learning by osmosis, either the positive or negative traits around money. Everybody has a money story or unconscious money mind of like how you react to things. So when I was at United Capital, we had this thing called the money mind. It was like a game. And we were at that time very into gamification of money, which by the way, everybody loves. And everybody loves quizzes. Everybody loves to find out about themselves. Everybody wants to know why they do what they do or their unconscious or subconscious response to money. And so we actually wound up putting people in 3 different buckets. So you were either fear, and that's what unconsciously drove your decisions. You were commitment, meaning you're putting others before yourself, or you were happiness and you're pretty much a spender. So it's interesting how most people fall into those 3 buckets.
Yeah. And so, Cary, you were saying how open your dad was sharing his net worth and all that. And it was back in the 80s. And so we know money is taboo. And so I think it's so cool that that was happening. And which was the reason why I was just so fascinated with you, because you are kind of doing the same thing, just that raw transparency with your clients. I've been in the financial planning world, not quite as long as you, but being in that space, these professionals, CFPs, financial planners, they don't share what their money looks like. They don't share their debt. They don't share their investments. They don't share taxes or any of that. But you do. Please tell us how you interact with your clients and build that trust by being transparent.
So it's interesting because think about it. If somebody's coming to you and they're literally laying their cards on the table and showing you everything, I could not feel comfortable to turn around and not show mine. And also they need to know they're working with somebody who's made it, who's already a success, who can retire anytime she wants. So the first thing I do is show them my portfolio. This is what I have. This is what I make. And guess what? I make more money from my portfolio than I do from my day job. And guess what? When that happens, you made it. You are beyond a success. And obviously that's not everybody's life goal, but that is certainly an incredible goal to have. If you're making more money from your passive job than you do from your active job, right? And so I show them my portfolio because I say, I'm going to invest your portfolio like I invest my portfolio. We are, let's say, similar age and similar income and similar net worth. I'm going to do for you what I do for myself. And of course, what human would not want that?
Yeah. So what else are you sharing with them, your clients?
Anything they ask me. Probably too much because I'm an oversharer. But my clients have been through a lot with me. They've been through a terrible divorce. They've been through multiple changes in firms. I mean, multiple. I don't know if you guys know this, but I did move my clients and my firm and everything 4 times in 5 years with all of my clients.
They all stuck with you.
They all stuck with me. And the reason being is because they know why we were going through these transitions. The first reason is because my company, which I was a partner with, got sold to Goldman Sachs, transition one, or two, really, because I was at United Capital and then we got sold to Goldman Sachs, which I had no say in the matter. Goldman Sachs was not a good experience for me. It was actually the worst experience working for a firm that I've ever had in my entire career. I write about it in my new book. It's in chapter 1 in my story. It's an incredibly terrible story about what the worst things that could happen to you at a job happened to me at Goldman Sachs. It's so interesting because here I was, a women in wealth advocate and well known in the profession. I had influence. I had actually, by the time in 2019, when we got sold to Goldman Sachs, I was ranked actually number 4 in the country on the Investopedia list and the number 1 woman in the United States in 2019 when we got sold to Goldman. And I was treated unfairly, and it was a terrible experience for me. I could not hold myself out as a financial advisor or planner. I could not speak. I could not write. I could not go on TV. I could not do social media, which was like a huge part of who I am, my identity, how I get clients, and I couldn't do any of that. And so it was just 100% not a fit. The problem was I couldn't get out of my contract. And so that's another whole story. Where I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with attorneys to try to get out. I even offered them money to buy my business back. And they originally said yes, and then they reneged on me. So dozens of guys got to buy their businesses back before me, and a few guys after me, and I'm the only one they said no to. And I'm the only woman.
Wow. So it sounds like to me, they were keeping you from doing the things that you did best, but you were bound to this contract. And there were other people in your same situation that were male that they did allow, and you were not able to. So do you think you were experiencing some discrimination there?
So I believe I was. I do not have a lawsuit or do not have an attorney. I literally walked away. I had to quit and run out my non-compete. It was the only way I could leave. Otherwise, I would have been there for the rest of my life until they sold the firm for pennies on the dollar, which is another story at the end of the day. Do you know that story?
No, we love to hear all your stories.
Okay, this is an interesting story. So when United Capital was sold to Goldman, it was sold for $750 million for Goldman to have their own RIA. And then they pretty much ran it into the ground because they were doing all the wrong things, because they didn't know how to communicate to clients and they didn't know how to treat employees. And it just was a very, very difficult experience. I'm an entrepreneur. I created my business from scratch. All my clients are mine. They're self-sourced. They come to me because of me, not because of the firm name. Goldman is the complete opposite. Goldman's clients come to Goldman only because of their name. So they want you to be literally an interchangeable widget. So you are like not even like a human being, like you are just a placeholder that can be completely switched out at any time. And so that wasn't going to work with me or my clients because they weren't there for the name. We were there because we got sold and we had no choice. And so I had no say in the matter of when we were sold. So when I had to quit and run out my non-compete, that's what I did. And then that was in 2022. 2023 happens. Here we are a year or so after I left. Goldman announces that they're selling United Capital. And they sold United Capital for, take a guess. By the way, I was right about everything, so it feels really good. So they paid $750. Take a guess what they sold it for.
$50 million.
You're so close. $100 million. They took a $650 million loss because that's how much they destroyed the company.
Yeah, it must be. So what's the right way to do it? You've been through so many different models. You've been small, you've been medium, you've been big, you've been international, and your clients have stayed with you. What's the model they like best that fits you? And what's the model that maybe the average Joe American should be looking for, since you've learned so much about how not to do it?
So I love, and this is me personally, I love a national fee-only RIA, registered investment advisory firm. Now, the issue with that is they're not household names. So it's not like they're easy to find because they're not the big firms. They're not the Morgan Stanleys, the Edward Jones, they're not the big ones. The big ones are potentially not fiduciaries, which is, do we want to go down that road and talk about that?
Sure. I feel like the term fiduciary is thrown all around. Why don't you give us some clarity around what that is and what it means to someone in our audience that might be looking for a planner themselves?
Sure. So I always believe that if you're going to work with a planner, in both cases, one, they should be board certified. So that's a CFP. And right now in the United States, there's 100,000 of us. When I started 20 years ago, there was 40,000. So we've certainly grown. The numbers are incredibly high. 100,000 is a great number, and it's continuing to grow from there. So really fantastic. We have 100,000 board certified. And I always say it's like a doctor or an attorney. Why would you not want to work with somebody who's board certified? Like, it's the next level up. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is, I believe as a fiduciary, and what that term means is that any advice that you are given is in the best interest of the client. If it's not in the best interest of the client, then you can be sued. And so the client is always on the same side of the table as the advisor, and they're not selling them products or making commission, or it's also called fee only. That's another way to look at it. All the advice I'm giving my clients is in the client's best interest. And they never have to worry because there's no conflict of interest. So you're taking the conflicts of interest out. So if I'm offering a product, it's because I think it's the best product on the market, and I'm only getting paid from the client, not from the product that I'm offering.
So, Cary, with all this background, all this experience, and we really wanted to get to know you first. So, thank you so much for that. So, why do you believe that women need a different approach when it comes to financial planning versus the way men look at things?
That's a big, long answer. So I'm going to hopefully not take up the whole rest of the time. But okay, so let's start with first, this industry, wealth management, was created by men for men. And that's okay, because guess what? That's what it was. So we have 80% of planners are men. And in general, 80% of the clients were men. And you had a smaller number of women clients. And then my industry only looks at women in two categories: divorced or widowed. Women are much more than divorced or widowed. Women are a whole life cycle of events, and we're not just divorced or widowed. So that's the first issue. Then we also have the fact that every study on the planet shows that women are not being served by this industry. So, and let me give you some stats on that and why I say that. So the first one is that they say 70 to 90%, so we'll split the difference and say 80% of females fire their advisor after their husband dies. Because guess what? They're not being served by that advisor. They're either being overlooked, not spoken to, not asked what they want, jargon, not even included in the meetings. Sometimes they don't even make eye contact in the middle of the meetings. So that's a stat that's been around for a really long time, and it has not changed. So then there was a fantastic study that was done by Harvard in 2009 that said financial services is the least sympathetic industry to women and the one that has the most to gain if they get it right. Should we talk about the great wealth transfer and the shift?
That's actually one of the main reasons we're here today, because that's what you talk about in your book. And men, pay attention to what we're going to say next, because this involves you too.
So this is the most incredible thing. So now I have been talking about the great wealth transfer for over a decade. And we are now 5 short years away from it. So we've known about it for 10, 15 years, but now we're 5 years away. So by 2030, women are going to control in the United States 2/3 of the nation's wealth, which is $30 trillion with a T, not a B, and which is the same as the GDP of the United States, just to put it in context, right? So this has never happened before in history. Women right now currently control 1/3 of the nation's wealth. So it's getting set to double in the next 5 years. And so the first question I always get is, why? And so let me talk about why that is happening, because there's a lot of factors converging at the same time. And so McKinsey did the study on this over a decade ago, with all these things coming into play. So these are the different stats of why this is happening. So one is women's longevity. Women live 5 to 7 years longer than men. Therefore, women are going to be inheriting the great wealth from spouses, from parents, from the baby boomers. All of this is happening over the next 5 years. That's number one. Number two, gray divorce. Women over 50 getting divorced the numbers are going through the roof, and those women are walking away with a lot of money. Then we have women starting businesses faster than men. So women entrepreneurs are a force to be reckoned with, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. And women do it out of necessity because they just can't find something else, and they create these incredible companies. Then the fourth one, which is also one of my favorites, is that for the first time in history, women will be primary breadwinners in the United States, which is an incredibly stark contrast from the 1950s, where women were less than 5% of breadwinners in the United States, and they were only because they were widows or single women.
And on top of that, Cary, women live a lot longer. They have a longer life expectancy. So that factored in, there's a reason for planners, especially, to recognize how important it is to understand women. And that's part of what we're trying to do today. And that's mainly what you've been trying to do since the days of your dad.
Well, there's a funny analogy here too, because this is all about lady-splaining in a way, instead of mansplaining money. And you do a good job because men, as Jackie has said before, and we had a lot of shows on asset classes and asset allocation, and men just love to talk about asset allocation. And women don't necessarily understand it or want to talk about it, but you wrote an article explaining to women what asset allocation or asset classes were. Can you tell us what you did there to bring that message across?
It's one of my absolute favorites. When I wrote it, it went viral. So I know it reached a lot of women. I compared asset classes to shoes, and I went through every single asset class and compared it to a pair of shoes in your closet, and why you would wear it and why you would take it out and why you would need it. And I got so many women reaching out to me, even strangers, that said, I never understood this before. Why didn't anybody ever explain it to me this way? And I said, it's just a different analogy. Our industry is very male, so it's a lot of sports analogies, a lot of beating the S&P 500, which really does not resonate with women. In my entire career, I have never had a woman ask me, can we beat the S&P 500? Like, it never happens. She wants to know, is she going to be okay? Is she going to be a bag lady? Is she going to run out of money? What she loses sleep over at night is not that. I'm not the only one who comes up with these amazing women analogies. I just did a CFP board call with my friend Elaine King, who's also a CFP board ambassador, and she uses recipes and spices to explain asset classes.
When women share their voice, they are able to present a different picture. And I don't think it's that difficult, but when you start using an analogy that someone's not interested in, you just lose them. So tell us about the shoes analogy.
I heard that ESG funds are like Birkenstocks. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I compared them to.
What is small cap value then? Is it stilettos?
I got to go look back at the thing, but I think you're right. High risk, high reward. Yes. Yes.
And then your everyday pumps must be VTSAX or something.
So my everyday pumps are S&P 500. And then I've got my Gucci loafers are Muni bonds. There's all reasons for every one of them to be something. My kitten heels are, I think, oh my gosh, I can't remember what I put kitten heels as. I think that they're mid caps. Every single shoe is a different asset class. I got REITs, I have commodities, I have everything. I have everything in there.
And you can't wear pumps every day, and you can't survive in stilettos by themselves. And if you just have one pair of shoes, it might wear out. So you need to have several different pairs of shoes for every occasion, for all weather, portfolio investing, and diversification, right?
Yes. And actually sneakers, which everybody has, is my cash, how you pay for things. So everybody's got sneakers.
So Cary, did you send us that article or that post that you wrote? We got to share that.
It's on LinkedIn and it's also on my website, but I will absolutely 100% get it to you.
So what did the men think of the article? You wrote it for women, but did the men get anything out of it too?
You know what the men told me? I learned about shoes. That's what I was told.
It just didn't resonate with them. It goes to show you, that communication is really about listening and about envisioning how the person's going to receive a message. And you want to get it across. It's not mansplaining. I'm called lecture daddy in my family because I would just say how I viewed it to my kids. They're like, Dad, go talk to your podcast microphone. Go talk to your Facebook group because that's not resonating with me. It's waiting for their ears to open and then finding the words that get the message across so you can move on to the next thing.
Exactly. And also, you know what I always say, that men are from Mars, women are from Venus type thing from back in the day. We do speak different languages. So why wouldn't we speak different languages when it comes to money too? We hear things different. We process things different. On the brain side, women have more verbal. They have verbal hemispheres on the left and the right brain. So, which is why women want to talk more. And that's part of who we are. And it's interesting because I also say to men that women as clients, for example, if women are going to be your future client, which I want to talk about that for a second too, because Cerulli, which is another great research company, came out with a study this year, at the beginning of this year, February of 2025. And they said, obviously, again, saying that women are the future wealth management clients, but they said that firms that get this right with women will be positioned for decades to come, like decades. Get it right now, and you're going to have your clients for life. But I always say, so for me, my practice is 80% women and 20% couples, with the woman being the primary breadwinner in the relationship in almost every case. I probably have two clients that the male was the primary breadwinner, one's retired and one's still working. But in general, I'm reverse what every other financial planner is. So when I tell a room of financial planners, which are 80% men, that I have 80% female clients, they fall out of their chair. They literally can't believe it. And then when I tell them that they're breadwinning women that make over $1 million a year, they also fall out of their chair because it's like an urban myth. Do these people even exist? It's kind of funny to me because I'm like, well, obviously that's not your target market. That's not who you're going after. That's not who you're speaking to. You're getting your clients the old fashioned way, the way guys got them, either doing seminars or on the golf course. Women don't do that. We don't get clients that way. We do it very differently. So my whole career have held myself out as an advocate for women, and I've practiced what I preach. And so I have attracted the women to me who mirror myself. And they say that over time, you mirror your clients. I don't know if that happens in the doctor world, but it definitely happens in the financial planning world. And I just woke up one day and I was like, wow, I am the exact same as my clients.
Well, you're not going to go to the doctor who's obese and smokes. Things have changed. This is the growth market. This is where men, if it's 80% of men in the industry, they've got to learn how to talk to women. This is the age-old problem. And now it's about money, which makes it even more important, right? So what is the industry doing about helping men take care of this growth market of women who are managing the wealth, since there's a disconnect now with not speaking the language that they want to hear?
Honestly, absolutely nothing. That's the problem. That's a generalization. However, I'm sure at some firms, they're doing some types of things, but that is literally why I wrote the book. I wrote the book to be the playbook. I'm hoping that I get a workbook to come with this, because I've been told that advisors are going through entire legal pads, taking notes from the book of stuff to do to address this market and go after this market and treat this market right. So I'm super excited because I'm hoping that this is the start of a snowball to change the industry. That's why I wrote it.
I think that it will. And it brings me back to the question of what is it that women are looking for? Let's say it doesn't even have to be a divorced person or a widow. Often they are, but just the average woman, when they are thinking, I need a financial planner, I need a fiduciary, somebody that is going to be comprehensive to help me from A to Z. What qualities are they looking for when they are trying to find a planner to work with?
I believe that they are looking for empathy, trust, education. They feel in their gut comfortable with that person and not judged or talked down to. When I talk to my clients, I'm never dumbing it down. I'm changing the language. I'm never dumbing it down. Women are incredibly capable women, are smart, are great planners. Like women plan vacations, they plan weddings, they plan parties, they plan a lot of great things, but they don't necessarily wake up and say, I want to plan my retirement today. Usually by the time I get a client, it's some sort of catastrophe type of thing, like death, divorce, disability, job loss, something happens. And then they're like, okay, now I need professional help. So I want to get to the point where women are just saying, I think I need a financial planner. Like I need a roadmap, because I always say, how are you going to get to retirement without a plan? It's like driving without directions. So I think everybody needs one.
Yeah. And do you think the CFP industry and the educational models for educating a CFP are addressing this problem?
I do. Well, so there's nothing specific to women in the curriculum for the CFP. I would love there to be. There right this moment in time, there isn't. However, our current CFP board chair is a woman, and our next CFP board chair is a woman. And I know that women's research and women getting more women into the profession and mentorship and all of that stuff is very important to the CFP board. We also have the Center for Financial Planning, which is the nonprofit arm of the CFP board, which I'm involved in. We do scholarships for women and a whole bunch of other stuff. And also African American, we have lots and lots of stuff. The African American are like, what? It's 3%?
2.
Oh, so we think it's bad with women. It's even worse with African American as well. So we know that we have to get to parity with what the United States looks like. So if 50% women, we have to be 50% women. If we're 45%, what is the number for African American?
I want to say 16%.
We need to get to that number. We eventually need to be mirroring exactly what the United States looks like. But we are so far from it. And that's what we've been working on with the nonprofit arm, which is the Center for Financial Planning. So are we addressing it? We're trying. It's such a big, big goal. And it's so difficult to move the needle. It's not like people have not been trying. People have been trying for decades. It's just not happening fast enough. It's like moving an ocean liner, I guess. But I am part of it. So next week, I'm going with the CFP board and a couple of influential women and a couple of influential nonprofits. And we're all meeting in New York City to solve this issue and really bring action items to fruition to move this needle that has been so difficult to move. And so I'm not giving up because it's my life's goal. And I'm really hoping that it happens in my lifetime.
Oh, I think it absolutely can. I think we can speed this up because we have models like medicine where things have evolved from the days of quacks to subspecialties. And we now see 52% of women are in med school, and they're not taking over the profession, but there is parity. It's not a male-dominated field anymore. This is what's happening to the financial services industry as well. And things move slowly. We men have to leave room for women to do what they are potentially better at doing than we are and embrace that, right?
Exactly. It's interesting because, like, when I wrote this book, I wrote it for the profession to make it female friendly, the client experience better for the female client, and also better for women who want to come into the profession. It was like a dual focus. I feel like we are moving towards that goal, but we are not there. You know how you said it's parity now? We are really far from parity. So we have to really reach young people to understand, like, since the profession is only 50 years old and it's new, we need to reach young girls and girls in elementary school. Like, if you ask them, do you want to be a CFP? They don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, that's a great analogy because are you going to be a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, or a business person? And what they don't realize is the family practitioner of finance is the CFP. That's their general practitioner that helps you with all things financial. And it's gotten so complicated that you do need a translator and a helper. And 80% of the nation need access to it financially as well for people that have less means and less resources, as opposed to the high hurdle of a minimum of 500,000 or something like that. That's one of the things that prevents people from accessing that as a profession is like, okay, I'm never going to have the money to engage with one. And if it's fee for service, when you have lower levels of income, we've had Abundo Wealth in the show where they're doing it as a subscription model for $189 a month, just like concierge medicine, help as you need it. And so I think the models are changing, things are moving, and this snowball will roll downhill with people like yourselves that are educating us that we need to talk about a CFP as a profession in the same sentence as the one of being, you want to be a doctor when you grow up? Well, you want to be a CFP when you grow up? Let's talk to those young girls, let's talk to those young boys and have them work together to find this new hybrid model that serves men and women equally.
I believe that if possible, because I've seen it a couple of times, where the employer takes money from their EAP program and they give it to their employees to pay for financial planning. And I think that's an incredible model if you could get it. Darden Foods paid for their executives' financial plans, or line workers. I don't know what their cutoff was, but they gave a certain amount per year for financial planning advice. I think that's an incredible employee benefit.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that more and more, Cary, as well. And even some smaller companies that might not have so much in the budget, they are doing more financial education, financial wellness. I even have gone into companies where we're doing that, or I collaborate with other financial education professionals and we go in and we help educate their employees. I am starting to see that. Back to the young girls and trying to teach them when they're in elementary school, when they're in middle school. You attended, I don't know how long ago this was, but a Girl Scout conference where you were representing the financial planning industry for young girls. Tell us about that.
Oh my God, it was so incredible. It was in Orlando. It was the National Girl Scout Convention Conference. It was 2022. And it was one of the most impactful couple of days I had in my entire career. And I wrote a blog afterwards that the CFP board distributed to all the professionals so I could share what happened with everybody. And it was so incredibly impactful because there was thousands of girls there. And not only did we teach them what a CFP was, but we played a game with the girls where we took them through how do you retire? And their first thing was, do you want to go to college or not go to college? And everybody said, I want to go to college. And then we gave them $100,000 debt card. And they're like, oh, now I don't want to go to college. And I'm like, too bad, you already picked it. You can't change it. So now you got to work off that debt. We taught them all these lessons going through the game, and then they got to retirement at the end. And then we had like future CFP selfie stations and future CFP tattoos that we gave everybody. And I actually have so many of them that I give them out at Halloween. So my neighborhood kids get them all the time.
I love it. I can imagine. It's like, go to Cary's house for Halloween. You are making a difference. I would have never thought the Girl Scouts, but this is where they start forming their interests, their aspirations, their dreams. And it's like, why not start that early with some age appropriate stuff? So kudos for you for getting with the Girl Scouts.
It was incredible. Think about it. The girls were aged 5 through 18. And it's not like they don't know about financial literacy because they have a financial literacy badge in the Girl Scouts, but they still didn't know what a CFP was.
Things are changing there, but you've also been to meetings where you've asked women to raise their hand and saying, what do you think of the term, is a man the plan? And a lot of women would say that is the plan still. And in these days, marriage is delayed later. Women are accumulating assets prior to marriage. And then you get into a relationship. Are you a believer in yours, mine, and ours? And how do women keep their own financial power from being drained away and abdicating to the man or other partner in the relationship? How do you keep it equal as you grow a marriage like you're growing a business?
So it is very challenging. I believe in full disclosure, and I believe that with your spouse, you should be financially naked, meaning all the debts in the closet or all the bad stuff, all the good stuff. You have to be on the same page. Because I always say when you're getting married to somebody, you're not just marrying them, you're marrying their money and their money personality. And are you guys on the same page? Are you both spenders? Are you both savers? Your thoughts on life? Are you on the same page? Do you have the same dreams and goals and things like that? So I believe that's a great time to sit with a financial planner. If you haven't, it's a great step. Somebody starting out in their lives to get on the same page financially. So I don't know if you know this, but so I was in a terrible marriage and terrible marriage. I married Mr. Wrong in my 30s. And I wound up where he committed financial infidelity, meaning he hid assets from me. His money was never available to pay bills. He only used my money to pay bills. I was on the mortgage. He was not on the mortgage. That's a whole other long story. I talk about it in my first book, actually, and I talk a little bit about it in my second book, but mainly in my first book. So what I always say, if it could happen to me, as smart as I am about money and as successful as I am, it can happen to anyone, any woman on the planet. This can happen to. So I always want women to have their own money, their own job, their own credit score, their own credit, and their own stuff. And so even like stay-at-home moms, for example, my daughter-in-law is a stay-at-home mom. And I always say a stay-at-home mom is at risk because guess what? You just gave up your career and maybe 15 years down the road, you get divorced. Now you have to start over from scratch without having you working all that time. And guess what? He's building his 401k. He's building this. So I always say, no matter what, you should at least be getting a spousal IRA every single year. Even if you're not working, you should be putting it in your name so you could build some of your assets in your name.
Cary, can you explain to us what a spousal IRA is?
Sure. So most people, when they work, they can put money in an IRA, which is a regular individual retirement account, meaning it's in your name and your name only. It's not a joint asset. It's yours. You can have a beneficiary on it, but it's 100% yours. So if you are a stay-at-home mom, you can get a spousal IRA that's deductible off your tax return in your name alone. The husband or wherever you have to just pull it from your existing assets. It's then an asset that's in your name. So it's just like a regular IRA, but it's called a spousal IRA, meaning you didn't work, but you could still take that tax deduction.
So are you a believer in blended finances, or do you maintain your own accounts and put them in a joint account in order to pay your joint bills? Do you let it be a little more complex so you can keep the money separate, or does it really matter when you're married anyway and things get split in divorce?
Right. So I think it depends on the situation and it depends on the couple and it depends on, I don't think there's any right or wrong way. I think it really depends. So for me, my husband and I pay bills from a joint account. We both have our own investment accounts where we're each other's beneficiaries, and I can log in and see his, he can log in and see mine. We show each other on a daily basis. This is what I'm up. This is what I'm up. And it is all pulled together technically anyway, because it's one pot. I don't think there is any right or wrong. I think it's whatever you feel comfortable with. I have my sister and my brother-in-law. They both work. They keep all of their money separate because that's what works for them. And no judgment whatsoever. They pay their bills and one pays for stuff out of one account. They split up who's paying what, and then the other one pays for stuff out of their account. And that's the way it works for them.
And Cary, I don't know if you get asked this all the time, and this is why there is a need for more women, but I have my CFP. I have so many people, women, asking me, can you refer me to a woman CFP? Women are specifically looking to work with a woman. So that's part of the reason why the problem kind of needs to be solved as well, because that's what people are asking for.
Exactly. And there's literally not enough of us to go around. That is actually the problem. Because if every woman wants to work with a woman, we don't have enough. We literally don't have enough. Now, what's interesting is in my career, I have had a client of mine, a woman, who referred me to another woman, a friend of hers. And she said to me, I would never work with a woman because a woman can't take care of my money as good as a man can.
This brings up the term you talk about, and I want to maybe try and close out the show with talking about biases. You talk a lot about extrinsic and intrinsic biases, and this is where that comes from. Now you've got it in reverse. You don't want your man to take care of your money necessarily when you're married, but when you have your own money, you don't trust a woman to take care of it anymore. You need a male CFP. Why is this?
I think it's honestly, it's unconscious bias, implicit bias, it's generational bias. It's been around forever. You got to remember where we came from. So in my book, I actually have 2 chapters that are very interesting related to this that are not even the unconscious bias chapters, which is another whole story. But I have the history of women in money, and I have the history of female breadwinners. So you have to see where we came from to why some of those things are still around today. And it's really just because it's not that long ago in the 1950s where women were home taking care of their husbands and making sure the kids were quiet and played nice. Don't get a hair out of place because I have to look like June Cleaver when my husband comes home and take off his slippers and give him a drink. That's not that far ago. I mean, it's like almost in my lifetime. So we are not that far from that. So we've come a long way, baby, but not really. So I think that that's part of the issue.
Yeah. So tell us the name of the book again, and when was it released? It was very recent.
Yes, 2.5 weeks ago. Very, very new. And it's called Women in Wealth, a playbook to empower clients and unlock their fortune. And so I originally wrote this for men, financial advisors, but however, women financial advisors are going crazy over it and flocking to it. And then women in general are going crazy and flocking to it. So I think I have like 3 different audiences for this book. Women who just want to understand what a relationship with a financial planner looks like, the questions to ask, what it should look like. If it's not like this, then you got to get another one. It's funny, Carrie Hannon from Yahoo Finance did a review on the book, and she said that people should look at this and say, if that's what it looks like, if mine doesn't look like that, I need to get a new financial advisor, or at least start from scratch and get somebody like this.
Yeah, you're pulling back the curtain.
You're uniquely poised to look at both sides of the curtain, where you've got the client-facing side of you and then the professional industry side of you. So a book like this, where it has women in the title, men might be turned off, but I want to read this because this is only good for my marriage. This is only good for my understanding of women in general, which is good for my life. And we think, oh, that's a woman's book. No, it's not. I guarantee you that men get more out of this than your women clients probably do.
I totally agree with you. So the initial title, by the way, of the book, Wiley had changed it. The original title of the book was Compel-Her, Don't Sell Her. And I think that that was a little bit more male. And then they changed it to Women in Wealth. And I'm like, can't we go back to the old title? And they were like, no, this is the new title. And I was like, I feel like it's going to resonate more with women and less with men. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I'm going to pick up a copy and read it because we've had other authors like Janine Firpo. We've got to get you in touch with her because she's all about activate your money as a woman and vote your values, because women are much more inclined to believe in values aligned with money. And she wants you to make the world a better place by putting your money where your values are. And that's what you're about too. So we'll try and get you together with her so the two of you can connect and compound your efforts.
I love it.
So, Cary, the book is available. It's called Women in Wealth, everywhere books are sold, right? So if someone wanted to find out more about you, read more about what you're doing, where's the best place to do that?
So my website is carycarbonaro.com. You can also find me on all social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, I still call it Twitter. And I'm the only Cary Carbonaro, so I'm really easy to find. And pretty much everything is just under my name.
We can't forget, Jackie, that we're all about late starters here. And Cary is our age and uniquely poised to maybe give us a tip or two about what should late starters look for in this future of women in money and money management and advisories. Is there any tips you have for our audience that are maybe a little bit lost and looking for a home base?
So I would say, first of all, it's never too late, right? If you're breathing and living and working, it's not too late. Okay. And the power of compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. So you just have to figure out the numbers and then figure out how to get there. Like, again, everybody needs a plan. You can't drive without a map. So all you need to do is figure out what you need to do to make your dream come true of retirement or whatever your dream is. I mean, retirement is a great dream. Everybody wants it. The original 3-legged stool was Social Security, pension, and outside assets. And that was how you were going to get there. Well, pensions almost don't exist anymore. Such a small percentage of the United States has pensions. So now that onus is on you to make up that difference, because Social Security is still only about 25% of your retirement needs. So you need to fill 75% with your own assets, either retirement or after-tax assets. And so I just believe everybody can do it. You just need a plan to tell you what to do.
Well, we really appreciate your coming on and speaking with our audience about your very powerful message. You're a very energetic person. I look forward to reading your book. I know I will recommend it to women in my life, my nieces. They're graduating in the near future. And maybe I'll have to give them your book as well, because Jackie's book is a book I'm giving them for graduation.
He better.
All right, Jackie, thanks for being here today. Cary, it's wonderful to meet you. I look forward to meeting you in person. And guys, we'll see you next week on Catching Up to Fi.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. Our social media maven is Diana Falk, and our editor is Fritz Brazard. We love them, and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community, and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofy.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services, because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to Fi. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to Fi. Cheers.